And when you consider the option of paying for health insurance versus being able to afford food, it takes the back seat.
And yet we have to be here every day. We're a service industry, but we have to have healthy staff here every day, physically as well as mentally.
In October 2025, 9 PBS Reports organized a series of discussions around the national childcare shortage, what it means for our region and our state. Led by Tamyka Perine, Executive Director of Gateway Early Childhood Alliance, these conversations featured early childhood experts, advocates, providers, and parents who represent communities all over Missouri. Each discussion focused on a specific aspect of childcare, exploring the challenges, formulating solutions, and celebrating not only recent policy changes, but also the tireless efforts of those who fight for quality and equality for providers and parents, and the future of Missouri's children. This week, our group of providers explores the concept of necessity, not only as it pertains to the childcare industry's role in our society, but also what it means for their staff as they try to build sustainable careers and lives for themselves and their families.
So you all have been in the business for how many years?
So it's been about 25 years for Mike.
This will be my 17th year.
Wow.
I'm the oldest, but the youngest in one way. I've just been here at Flance for about 6 years.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges for you all?
If you are someone who's going into the teacher field and you have to make a choice, do I want to teach early childhood or do I want to teach elementary? Chances are they're going to go for the elementary just because there's no money in early childhood. You can go to a school district teaching third grade and make twice as much as if I go into an early learning facility teaching preschool.
With summers off.
Yes, with the summers off.
The fact that many of our staff members sadly still qualify for subsidy, even with degrees, even with years, if not decades of experience, and they still, their own children can qualify for subsidy as low income. And I think I will speak for Flance, we have all female teachers, which is predominantly true in the early learning environment. It's mostly women, so women tend to be disproportionately impacted by this.
We're also not considered professionals. I would probably say that's one of our most difficult barriers, just because the funding doesn't come because they don't even consider us professionals.
But the education's there.
There's been so many studies done nationally, locally, all about the importance of early learning. With Head Start and early Head Start, over 60 years old now, they show that all the benefits from a decrease in foster care, an increase in high school graduation, a decrease in the need of social services,
A decrease in crime rates.
and yet there's so little money put into early learning. And there is no greater age that needs support. Our ratios are lower, meaning how many teachers per children, depending on the age. So it's a very labor intensive. But we're not daycare. None of us are daycare. We are early learning professionals.
I would also add that our job doesn't stop with the children. We service not only the child, but the entire family.
Exactly. The educator has to be very in tune first thing in the morning. You have to make sure you understand the parent's temperament and then the child's temperament. How is this day going to go? You want to make sure that if the parent has not had the best morning, that you ensure that they're leaving their child in safe hands so that they can go and be productive at work.
Childcare moves the economy. And the way this economy going, everybody need a job in the household, including the dogs, if you got one.
If only my cats would get a job, it would be amazing.
They got my dogs. I go home, my whole house is tore up. But I'm just like, I need to teach y'all some tricks. We need to go visit a circus.
Happy and you know it. You all three.
Tiffy Jackson has been director of Queens and Kings Learning Center since it opened in 2013. The center offers transportation and non-traditional care, which means it's open from 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week.
Some people work 8 to 5. Some people work 3 to 11. Also, we have people that work on Saturdays and Sundays. It's not easy to find care. Just to know that these babies are safe, they're being fed, they're getting hugs. Some of them just come in and want a hug.
But extended hours and services don't add up to more revenue. Offering more availability to parents means that Tiffy has to hire more staff. And like many directors, she's trying to maintain that difficult balance between paying a living wage and keeping costs down for her lower income families who are struggling to afford their portion of subsidized care.
You have to make decisions what's best for the business. I hate to say the word business because, it is a business, but me as a provider, I have to think, it's not just me. I have 5 people that needs to be paid. The lights need to be paid. Food needs to be bought. Hey, it's cold outside. The heat is running. Like, it's definitely a hard decision to make. I'm looking at this baby. I'm looking at this mama. Or looking at this dad. I have a lot of single dads looking like, what do I do? According to my standards of what I charge, I'm absolutely low. I'm low to the point where it's like, Tiffy, you may need to raise it, but how do I raise it? Because it's not about that. It's about the parent going to work, but it's also about this baby that needs a safe place.
And if that parent takes off one day of work,
They may lose their jobs.
not just that, that's an electric bill, that's gas, that's rent.
It's food over the weekend.
It is.
It's a problem for the country, but I think especially low-income communities, we'll say in this area, low-income communities of color, it just becomes an almost insurmountable problem with children and quality, safe childcare.
While many providers are operating in some variation of survival mode, they are also cognizant of how important it is to create career pathways for their committed staff. Retention is a major issue for the industry, and upward mobility joins low wages and lack of benefits as a contributor to valued educators leaving the field.
The challenges for professional development, the only options are we're closing early, so then parents don't have care, which isn't ideal for our families, or we're asking educators to do this evenings or weekends.
I have these staff who are amazing, who have so much potential, who are so creative. How can I invest in them? And how can I develop my leadership team? What can I do? But then you got to look at, okay, if I give them these extra responsibilities and I create this pathway for them, but now I need to find someone to cover them in their classroom.
Yeah.
And more salary.
So now I'm looking, so everything goes back to the budget. You have a limited amount of resources, but you want so much to pour into your staff because they do commit so much.
This work is not easy because it's a hard work you're doing from your heart. Let's put all the money to the side, knowing once a child leaves my facility and my great teachers, it makes my heart good because I know I'm getting them ready for the world. I have people that I employ. They love what they do, but they also have to live. And not being able to have benefits and not be able to pay people what they should outside of their worth. I don't want people to have to choose between rent and food.
What about benefits?
Now, that's the issue for me. So although we do offer benefits, getting a competitive package can be costly. It could be one individual, once they do a medical background check, and it now takes your budget out of whack because of that person changing the whole scenario of the rates that you now get.
Don't forget age.
Right.
Yeah.
Zip code too.
Yes.
I hate it. Zip code. We live in urban areas. We live where we work. And to have that to be a factor in what you pay.
Kids World, for example, we do not offer major medical. Even with the match of the 50% from the employer, it was still looking like the employee was going to pay a minimum of $400 every month. So when you look at that's $200 out of each paycheck, that it's already small because you don't make what you're worth. So then you have to account $200 of that every time you get paid towards just medical insurance. And that's just for you. That doesn't include your child.
And when you consider the option of paying for health insurance versus being able to afford food, it takes the back seat.
Often.
And yet we have to be here every day. We're a service industry, but we have to have healthy staff here every day, physically as well as mentally. I think all of our centers or locations too are based in relatively low income neighborhoods, which means the children and the families we're serving have a lot of need, but that means health too. You've got parents that might be working an hourly wage job to stay home one day. They're not getting PTO, they're not getting paid time off. So we might have more ill children coming in, and it's exposing our staff to a lot as well.
And COVID only accentuated the gap between childcare providers and other professional educators. The extreme circumstances made the lack of benefits, especially paid sick days, and low wages feel like even heavier burdens for staff and directors alike to carry.
We were the only ones working, but yet they don't think we're essential. So to be undervalued and underpaid, it's a lot.
I definitely think COVID was an eye-opener for really looking at the mental health for early childhood professionals. As the world was shutting down, they were putting more and more and more pressure on our backs. They wanted us to stay open for all children. They not only just the early childhood, now they wanted us to take in all the school-aged children, as well as trying to keep all of those safety parameters in place. Then after that, in the aftermath of that, all of that pressure is still on those providers. We never took mental health days before that, but now it is in my calendar. Like, we put in mental health days for my staff.
So mental health can spiral down. If I take off today, what would that look like in 2 weeks?
The financial piece of it.
The financial piece when rent
It
has
just adds
due.
another layer of stress and anxiety.
When we talk about fair salaries, not only benefits, what does PTO look like? What does vacation time look like? When can I regroup with my family and take a few days off? My children have a spring break, but do I get spring break? Because typically childcare centers are taking kiddos that are on spring break. So
With all of the stress, all of the strain, how is that impacting your providers, your employees?
I believe that 98% of our employees are females.
Yeah.
America's living off the backs of us women, and these women show up and they show out with a smile every day, very committed.
This is an intensive environment from the moment a child walks in the door till the moment they leave. There have to be eyes on. You don't put an assignment and walk away and go check your email. You are with children all day long, and it does take a strong person.
I agree. I think definitely early childhood providers are probably one of the most committed group of professionals.
Commitment, determination, and community would exhibit their full force after an EF3 tornado swept through St. Louis on May 16, 2025.
Destroyed our playground, and the fencing was knocked down, and somehow the building was leaking in our baby room. The community, the childcare community stepped up, and they got us what we needed. They sent volunteers out to help us repair the playground. We got toys replaced. They gave us funds to assist with that because I had to close. A lot of my parents missed out on money. A lot of my parents missed out on work. I referred them to different childcare centers because we have a bond. It's a community. All of my children were able to come back, and that's a blessing.
I do think the early learning community comes together when necessary. But man, we do need that funding for teachers, and so that people can have a career. And this should be a career. Yeah. Children deserve professionals, well-paid professionals that can stay and that don't have to move into another position just to be able to make sure their own child can go to university. Yeah. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Come in, sit down with us, come and see what we do, advocate for us. You don't have to have children to know it's a necessity and not a luxury.